I can't remember what this one's called. On top Burnt Hill, I met the crowd, the folks some know to dread. The little folks who plant mushrooms along where they may tread. The ones they say are tricksters who lead you far astray. The mystic folk who've lived in this land long before our days. As I went walking with a sack and picking chanterelles are a local mushroom that you can eat. As I went walking with a sack and picking chanterelles, I carried with me a notepad, thinking up tales to tell. See, I came to the hill for solitude, some time to think and write. Solitude is what I had not. Yes, sir, I had quite a fright. See, I leaned over with my bag, now nearly full of shrooms, to pluck the very last toadstool for which I had the room. What a fine feed it would make down at the station, a feed of fish and wild mushrooms was much to my elation, when just then did a blinding flash appear, a cloud of smoke, a show of sparks, and a ringing in my ear. Just like that, poof, I was taken into the den of fine fairy folk. That's where I'd awakened, surrounded by these little chaps with little beards, little gowns and hats. In this little den there were little lights coming from little mushroom caps. I was surrounded by these folk with snickering, sneering looks, and in the center of the circle was an elf queen looking at my books. She looked at me with pointy ears, big bright eyes, and a serious demeanor. What a sight to see by, you should have seen her. I was surrounded. She laughed a little at my expense. I suppose I was quite the sight, being 6 foot tall in an earthy den underground. Yes, that's right. There were roots hanging from the roof. The walls were soil and stone. The floor was dirt and moss, not a place that I'd call home. But all the same, there I was, and in strange company. The elf queen silenced her subjects, and then she said to me, "You folk, you come and disregard all the things we do. You take from us our homes and friends as if they mean nothing to you. And here you are with pen and paper, these things you write about. If only you knew the power of imagination and the power you have to doubt. These concepts and ideals and material things you think are real, the things you think have worth, are things you can't taste and feel. Like this thing that you call money. To you, it's more important than the sun, which turns the seas and winds, brings life and love and fun. You are a queer folk," she said to me as I stood there dumb in awe. By if you could have been there in the moss on your arse and seen what I had saw. She read my notes and stories some, and giggled to herself. She stood and closed the book, a majestic she-elf. She said, "Listen, friend, I have an idea, a jest so sweet. I will set you free this day and let you back upon your feet. Yes, you'll go free back to your world, but you will take with you something of ours. We'll make a trade. We'll keep this book of yours, in return show you our powers." And with those words hardly spoken, there was another blinding flash, a pile of sparks, a blur of smoke, a whirl of motion, then a crash. And just like that, there they were, gone, and I was left alone. I found myself confused, concerned, and wanting to go home. But from where I now stood, I noticed that would be quite a task, as I found myself atop a mushroom, in the air and rising fast. I was floating through the air and gaining altitude. You might be sitting thinking, that sounds fun. Trust me, my son, I was not in a having fun sort of mood. I peeked over the edge of my aerial fungus ride to see that below me was a great big rock amid a great big tide. It was Newfoundland, the island, sure, I'd know it anywhere. But from where I stood, looking down, I'd say I was well into the atmosphere. Then all around me came these images, things I can't explain, of space and stars, the moon and Mars, celestial winds and rain, systems, nebulas, quasars, black holes, and more. All these things connected somehow by tiny little spores. Little bits of something, I suppose, a type of energy. You can call me a fibber, sure, but I promise that's what I did see. I whirled about in space and time, through seas and drops of dew, through rocks and moss. Through rocks and moss, oak trees, birch trees, spruce and yew. I saw dust turn to stone, and stone to soil, soil to moss and tree. Saw dust turn to snowflakes, to hurtling comets and seas. I saw our world take shape, all before my eyes. I saw what makes the wind blow and the rain fall from the skies. Amid all these images, there were those spores of energy, and just behind the spores, there was the elven queen. She said to me now, I know their truth, their ways, and what they do. She said to me now, I must make a choice from these only options too. I could live my life out knowing all the secrets of this place, the way we rise from dust of fallen stars in space, how each of us a snowflake, a bit of dust, a spore, are related to the mushrooms, the mosses, rocks, raindrops, and more. And the role we have to keep the sacred order things do go, and the way we have forgot these things and fallen into woe. She said, I can live knowing that, but I cannot tell a soul. She scolded me with a fairy look and said, now listen what you're told. If you speak a word of this, your memory will be taken by a spell. You will be returned to the way we found you while picking chanterelles. I nodded in agreement. She disappeared, and there I stood, atop Burnt Hill with a bag of chanterelles from an old enchanted wood, looking down at the wild flowers in Norris Point and the tourists from all around, looking across the bay at the tablelands where the earth turned upside down, watching folks clean little codfish or try for mackerel, at a funny fellow at the catsup singing songs and singing well. I looked upon it all. Was this a nightmare or a dream? How could I go on living without the mystery? Thought for many days, wondering what to do in biding time. And there I was, reading something to a crowd, forgetting my next line. Thank you.